Good morning, happy Thanksgiving. It's me, Teresa Valentino, and I would just like to share a little something with you about capitalism and why it sucks. So, and this is not, I'm not trying to be all like Che Guevara with, a pretty face, but just certain things that I've noticed is like capitalism requires pitting people against each other, especially like the less capitalized people. And you got to understand that capital can be a lot of things. Can be money, and it can definitely be social support. Like for someone like me, I definitely am aware how valuable social support is and what an enormous difference it will make to have it or not have it in your life. So, capitalism leverages that stuff on every level that it works. It's not only money, but it's access to people and opportunities and all kinds of stuff. It's privilege, basically. And so privilege doesn't work. You don't have privilege unless somebody has underprivilege, unless you've taken from somebody else. So capitalism requires people to be pitted against each other, again, especially the underclasses. Like when my country was started, the white lower class men of England decided that they no longer wanted to be serfs of the king. They wanted to go and be free men, and basically what they wanted to do was just be a bunch of dukes and earls and shit without a king. They just wanted to freestyle it, and so they decided to just name everybody from Africa gets to be our chumps. Now they're the serfs and we're the kings, and we're all each little individual kings, and they're going to be our serfs. Okay, and then women are still not going to be people either because we weren't in the olden feudal times, so why the hell should we be now? See what I mean? So, obviously there were several flies in the ointment when we got started. But that's just, just a little contextual idea for something I'm about to tell you that happened back in I want to say late 1990s, mid 1990s. I was probably in my early 30s, and I just went on a little weekend jaunt to New York. I had a great job. I was making good money, and just to relax and unwind, I love New York. I just wanted to go see what was happening. So on my way out there, I went to O'Hare Airport in Chicago, and all splashed all over the newspapers. Some Becky with the rich dad had come up missing from New Jersey. She went out to school, and then she just didn't. She left with her friends after school, and then she has not come back the next morning. And they're freaking the fuck out, and police are looking for her in the tri-state area. And if anybody sees little Becky, you let us know. So got on the plane. Becky was missing. Next morning, I wake up and go out to breakfast in New York, grab a newspaper, and I'm having my coffee, and I see on the front page, oh, whoopsie doopsie, Becky just, went out to the city with her friends when she wasn't supposed to, got super wasted and fell asleep at somebody else's house in fucking New York, some other little rich kid in New York. She was fine. And so, whoopsie. Okay, so I could have saw that shit coming, first of all, and it was not, I was not amused or charmed, and it was like splashed all over the front page. But I was even less amused and charmed as I'm turning through the paper to actually read the inside of it. And you know how the front page is like where you see everything and it's real big, and then if you turn it over, this gets like less reading because people kind of jump to the next front page. So I'm like 3-4 pages in, like in the back corner, and there's a paragraph this big about 1, 2, 3, 4 African American women who were bludgeoned to death with a fucking hammer in an apartment in the Bronx that night while poor little Muffin was missing. So that actually blew my mind. And I was sitting there reading this one paragraph of coverage and noticing how much information it did not contain. Like, their names were not mentioned, their ages were not mentioned, how and why they were targeted. I think it said that they had someone in custody, but I'm not sure. It was like absolutely bare fucking minimum information. Like, yeah, this happened. Guy took a hammer, cracked 4 women's heads open, and then that's it. They're African American, so we're done talking about it now. Like, what in the actual fuck happened there? You are joking, right? So I was sitting there having that what the fuck feeling, like looking at that paragraph, reading it again to see if I missed any actual information. I didn't. And the waitress comes over and asked me if I would like some more coffee. And I said, yeah, sure. And so she goes over to get the coffee pot and come back. And then she says, oh, I'm glad they found little Betsy, whatever her name is. oh, thank God they found her. She was like super worried about Becky. And I was like, yeah, I'm sure she's fine. Like, you know who's not okay is these 4 women in the Bronx who got their heads caved in last night for unknown reasons by unknown people. What the fuck? Why don't we have information on this? Why do we know this Becky's food allergy, but we don't know what happened to these 4 women who are dead now? So the waitress apparently was a bit of a Becky herself. I don't know what the fuck a little trust fund girl is doing waiting tables in Manhattan, but she probably didn't last very long in that job because she walked off in a huff and did not give me any fucking coffee. Like, walked back and like set the coffee pot back down, and then the other waitress saw her do it and was like, oh my God. And she was kind of laughing, and she came over and poured me some coffee, and she was like, yeah, she's from a wealthy family, you know. So I mean, that's the thing, it's just white women making me embarrassed all the time. Hey, white women, you embarrass us. So we embarrass me. How about that? White women, we embarrass me. So that's been a problem for me. It's like, just after the amount of shit that I've been through, you know, just the way that social support is given to some and not to others is excruciatingly painful for me. I don't like it. I don't like that Native American women, because of the fuckery involved in, you know, the way my country treats Native America, it's just, it's basically open season on them. Like, you know, the tribal police do what they do. Sometimes it's effective, sometimes it's not, but like, our government in America does not care what happens to Native women. It just fucking doesn't. Like, because they're in a separate country technically, fuck you, they don't care. And you know, it's goofy. It's heartbreaking is what it is. And I don't know, it all comes down to capitalism. It all comes down to, like, people came here wanting to start a new place where they could be the kings and the Africans could be the slaves, and then it would never change because the people kind of look different, I guess, and so they thought they would just be able to maintain that visually forever. I don't know what they thought, but it's heartbreaking because it still kind of keeps people against each other. Like, as a white woman who has been raped, like, this is just kind of a fucked up fact. Like, the only way a rape survivor is going to get a lot of public sympathy and support, a number of criteria need to be met. One, she does need to be white. Like, you can't really name any famously sympathetic rape survivor who is African American, except, I mean, who are you going to talk about? Like Oprah or fucking, I don't know, Maya Angelou, but they're not famous for being rape survivors, right? They're famous for other shit that they did, right? So famous sympathetic rape survivors include the women rescued from the Cleveland House, J.C. Dugard, you know, Natasha Kampusch. Elizabeth Smart is the number one. Okay, what happened with Elizabeth Smart? Her parents were not in the wrong in any way, shape, or form. She was safely tucked into her nice little white girl house in Utah. Her parents are the nicest people in the world. She was a beautiful little blonde-haired virgin girl from a wealthy family. He was a maniac who targeted her in a creepy, unpredictable sort of way. And, you know, she was missing for quite a long time, and there's so much drama where people get to cast blame on her and second guess and talk a bunch of dumb shit that they don't understand about why she didn't run away or yada yada. So it was just a perfect media just ball of fuckery, you know what I mean? And it's painful for me. I think that the feminists felt like I was splaining to them that white rape survivors don't have a voice either. You know what I mean? Like, this is a true story. Like, if you think about someone like Aileen Wuornos, who was the quote-unquote first or only female serial killer, or one of the few anyway, the first one they big-time identified here, you know, Aileen Wuornos was so sexually abused, like, starting in her childhood and really all through her life. Aileen Wuornos, as a 9-year-old, would trade blowjobs for cigarettes with the boys in school. They all knew that. The high school boys knew that they could get a blowjob from 9-year-old Aileen Wuornos for a cigarette. She would have sex with anybody who asked her, and then boys who had sex with her would publicly ridicule her if she attempted to talk to them. If she tried to walk up to them and say hi after they had had sex with her, they'd say, "Get the fuck away from me." You know what I mean? In front of everybody, call her names and shit. And, you know, she was sleeping in the woods in high school. Whole town knew it. Grown men using her for sex. Didn't change shit. They couldn't wait to kill that bitch. You know what I mean? And she was as white as me. You know, this is the thing. It's painful. And, I mean, on top of the whole thing of how awful it feels to me, what happens to so many different women, the fact that there's no justice for any of us is really soul crushing to me, has been my whole life. But then the fact that women of color feel like somehow I've already gotten too much support and it's not my turn anymore is also kind of devastating. Like, I don't know if people can even understand how fucked up it is to be pitting people against each other based on the amount of pain that they've already been through. Because it's people who are not traumatized who do this kind of shit. Like Mitt and Ann Romney, nobody's ever laid hands on those bitches. So, you know what I mean? Just the powers that be, the people who make all the decisions, they don't give a shit what happens. And it works better for them if the people who are in real pain, you inflict real pain on people and then turn them against each other. So, I don't know. It's really fucked up. I wish people had more empathy in general, and I wish that race and gender were not constantly used to just keep everything fucked up. So that's my little soapbox for today. God bless Native America, and, you know, that's just a classic example. You know, they come here and they wouldn't have even survived if the Native people, like, if the Native people actually had any fucking idea how insane the Pilgrims were, I think it would have been a tough call, but they probably would have killed them with good reason. I mean, and that would have been the best fucking outcome. Like this guy recently who, some American jackass went to some remote island in India where people are forbidden to fucking travel because there's like a prehistoric Stone Age tribe living there who has never had contact with the outside world. And if you try to go to their island, they fucking kill you, period, fucking click. Like, the Indian army, I guess, sent helicopters over there to go and try to see what's going on over there, and they brought that bitch down with bows and arrows. Like, they're not playing games, and we should not be fucking with them. We should be grateful that there is that one little untouched portion of the world, and that one little bit where humanity is still intact, okay? And they're cavemen, and we're out there with helicopters. Of course they fucking brought it down. God bless them for bringing it down. So, that white dummy, I don't know if he's Asian, white, whatever the fuck, some American dumbass went over there and got himself killed, and bang zoom. What they do not need from you, sir, is Jesus. Thanks. Thank you. They do not need your fucking Jesus. So, anyway, happy Thanksgiving, y'all. I'm actually not feeling as bad about this. This is what I did not articulate very well in the application that I sent to that feminist thing, is like how much I understand that Native America and African America have been just like, their brutalization is just like a foregone conclusion before we can even start talking about anything that happens to white people. You know what I mean? It's just a baseline fucked up way that things are. At the same time, I'm grateful that there are so many survivors of the genocide against the Africans in particular, because the specific things that were done to them, where somebody else owns your body and tells you who you are in this world and uses you up until there's no more use for you, and then there's no remorse and there's no fucking recompense of any kind for you. You just have to go fuck yourself and have a nice day. You know what I mean? That's very much what happened to me. Other people owned my body and they would do with it as they wish, exploit me any way they wanted to. They're not sorry to this day. Same people are not sorry for what I've been through. They don't care. There's no empathy for me. So I thank God that there are so many survivors of the African genocide who were able to stick together and help each other get out of it, because they taught me the moves. They taught me what to do. They showed me how it has to go. They warned me a long time ago. The white liberals are the ones that are going to really fuck you up, because they're too comfortable with the shitty way that things are. That truer words have never been spoken. You know, think about who that is. Those are all the white people that are inside the margins, all those white women voting for Trump, you know? And this is why, I mean, it's not really a mystery to me anymore. I've really thought about it a lot, because women overall are disenfranchised. And so in this little fake feudal system we have, where the black people are going to be at the bottom of the rung and the white people are automatically going to be in charge and only men get to own land or vote, You know, that's all pretty straightforward, isn't it? It's all pretty, it's a pretty straightforward, rigged fucking game. And I think it's falling apart at the seams. Thank God, not one moment too soon. Not one moment too soon, because when capitalism dies, there will be no bringing it back. It will die because enough of us have seen that our humanity has to be the most important capital, the only capital that fucking counts. That was the only capital that counted on this continent before the fucking pilgrims arrived, okay? It was the same. It was the same capital that they had in Africa. That's why they were able to go snatch all those people up and fucking run, because they were not even prepared for how insane capitalism really is as a concept. They were not even ready for how mentally ill Europe is and was. So, white women, we embarrass me. So, anyway, I am super grateful. I am taking this day to be grateful for the survivors of all of the genocides, of all the women and men who have been harmed and injured with, you know, just like me, road-killed and stuff. And I'm looking forward to the day when all rape survivors can be supported, and it won't be like, you know, robbing Peter to pay Paul, you know what I mean? Taking support away from one rape survivor because they're white. And then it just sucks. I wish we could all be supported. There should be plenty of human capital to go around, and there certainly is. And I'm looking forward to brighter times. If you think 2018 was a pretty good blue wave, which I do think it was, just wait for 2020. Like, seriously fucking wait, because there's a lot of high school students who can get registered to vote in the next 2 years. So I'll see you guys later, and I hope you're grateful, and I'm grateful to have you. Bye.